Hi, I'm Karl Griggs from CPC Finance. Today I'm here with Alfred. If you'd like to introduce yourself.
Thanks, Karl. Thanks for inviting me. So my name's Alfred Dzadey. I'm a property investor based in the Midlands. I mainly invest in HMOs. That's been my bread and butter. I like cash flow, so that was my go-to strategy going into property. It's always been that.
I think people are aware of where you are now.
Yeah.
But let's take it all the way back. How did you start and what got you into the property?
Yeah, very simply, I'm not gonna lie, I wanted to make more money. It's very, very simple. I had a corporate background as a project manager. Background education-wise, I did an engineering degree, so aerospace engineering. And it was great working at Jaguar Land Rover and good salary, I got up to 60K. But I was like, okay, how do I get to like 100, 200 grand a year in salary? And obviously becoming a senior project manager meant 5, 10 years invested in that company corporate, or maybe potentially moving around and coming back.
Limited pathway though.
Yeah, and as I was like, I knew people that, or I've heard of people that were making 100 grand, 200 grand a month. So I'm like, what can I do to kind of get in that space, or what can I do to learning about how to make that level of money? So initially, my thought process was always, I was going to work in the corporate world and buy 1 or 2 properties every couple of years as I progressed through my career. So by the time I'd retired, I would have then had maybe like 10, 20 properties, who knows, and that would be my retirement pot in a sense. But I didn't actually understand property was like a business. You could actually like raise capital, scale, buy more properties. And I always used to assume you had to save money to buy the property, like your hard-earned savings from working. So for me, my big thing was I wanted to invest in my education. I didn't want to go in blind and try and figure out trial and error. So literally first property education company, again, didn't go looking around. I went to one thing, I heard what they said. For me, I believed I can deliver on what they were basically telling me. So I was like, I like the information I'm being told, and I believed that I could take that information and went and implement it. So yeah, went in deep, invested the magic number of 25 grand, everyone keeps hearing, into my property education. It was a big thing at the time.
So just to be clear, sorry, because I've been speaking with other people on mentoring. You invested 25,000 into the mentoring.
Yes,
into learning.
like a program learning. Just not buying property. This is actually capital I was going to use towards my first home. And I said, look, the reality is I'm going to make some money 10 times over in my lifetime. So in a way, you're kind of taking time out of the equation, saying, look, pull that money forward, spend it today with the opportunity to be able to make $1 million, 2 million, whatever. Yeah. And for me, in my case, it worked. I took the level of action required to be able to get to where I need to get to. And that was my way out in terms of even when it came to COVID. So COVID comes, Jaguar Land Rover, obviously, we're a car manufacturing company. We're working on projects that are being delivered in 5 years' time. Yeah. So they had to kind of, in essence, get rid of all the contractors and kind of pause things.
So they sort of pushed you into it?
Yeah, I was like, but the good thing is I took the bet on myself. If I didn't invest that money into myself, all I had was the...
It sort of made your mind up. That's what I mean, to do it there and then.
To do it full time, yeah. Just went all in on that.
And with your first project, was it all your own money, or did you seek other assistance?
No.
Obviously the mortgage, I'm not talking about that side.
Yeah. So I'd always raised capital for my first deal. And the funny story is, it was my first finance raise wasn't for property. So when I went into these programs and learned about creative financing and learned about the whole principle of being able to borrow money cheaply and be able to utilize the money and provide a great return to investors, or people, should I say, I said, I know business owners who are needing capital. And if I'm the bridge between the business owner and the capital, I can in essence make some money just off the few percents, which is what banks do, just what everybody does. So I did that. I used to raise capital for events. These like short-term loans. We'd go and do an event, would hire artists, perform, make our money off ticket sales, and blah, blah, and then pay back our investors. So I used that over a period of time to be able to kind of build the credibility of, one, being able to borrow money for a period of time and paying back on time with interest. So in parallel, I was very vocal about my property education journey and showing myself leaving work, traveling down to London for networking events, going on a 3-day program over the weekend, meaning I had to take Friday off from work. So people at work knew what I was up to. So when it came to raising capital for property, it was like, you'd seen me go for a journey of educating myself, investing heavily into myself. So they actually respected that and said, look, he's clearly serious about his dreams or what he wants to do in property. So, because nobody in the right mind spends 25 grand on an education program. I still think it's insane, but for me, it worked out.
Look, it's not going to work out for everybody. But
exactly,
if you know that's your target and it helps you get there, you might not take it all in.
Yeah.
You take a bit of it in, but as long as it's the right education for the right reasons.
100%.
And then, so you sort of sourced it from all different sources.
Yeah, so initially I went to my work colleagues because I perceived that's where the money was at. I worked in a company where people were on good salaries, one, and two, they all kind of bragged about their retirement pots and what they had in the pensions and just money they had around them. Like, and they just kind of, they're all old guys. Some people are like 40 plus on average. So it's like they've been through that phase of buying their home, having kids, they've settled down, then they're just now natural savers. They come to work looking to progress in the corporate ladder. So the opportunity was like, look, you guys have money sat in your bank account doing nothing for you. I am this vehicle where I can provide you a better return on your money. So for them, it was like a no-brainer. They kind of judged me, even though I had no experience, it's a bit insane as well. I technically didn't have any experience in developing a property. I had the education, the knowledge, the know-how. But they kind of judged it based on my work ethic at work.
I was going to say, the big advantage is they would have seen you at work anyway, in the work environment.
Exactly.
And put it this way, if you were a lazy so-and-so, they wouldn't have given you money.
Exactly that. So that's what helped me raise capital. Like we see how you work at work. You do whatever it takes, don't take no for an answer. So they just assumed if... They saw I'm way more passionate in property. So if I'm doing this for a company, like I must be doing it at a different level in my business.
So they must have been, the only, I'm thinking from their side, concern must have been is, will we get our money back?
Not really, because I'd build the trust on the short-term loans.
Yeah. And what about from you though? Were you concerned that...
No.
Timescales?
No.
No?
For me, the knowledge, this is why I wanted to get, I guess I invested in my education. For me, the knowledge was there. I had the confidence comes from knowledge. If you know how the know-how, in my mind, there's no way I don't do it. It's more about like, can I put a team together, which I believe I can. I do that on my corporate days. And so they just literally, off the back of that, kind of trusted, one, me having the know-how, and two, having, the business experience through the corporate days.
And did you pick a specific area for a reason?
Yeah, Coventry, I was like, I'm not trying to reinvent the wheel. I know multiple investors that invest in HMOs in Coventry. So if it works for them, it can work for me.
Yeah.
And very simply, I didn't really have to look too hard. I'm like, it's 20 minutes from where I live. I work in Coventry. Let's just get on with Coventry and work out how.
And some of your projects, did they need planning?
Every single one I've actually done planning. I kind of fell into planning by accident in a weird way because I was trying to unlock commercial valuations.
Yeah.
And I kind of found out like the only way to kind of in a way guarantee it. I say guarantee, strong word, but to kind of get the commercial value, you need to have the change of use.
Yeah.
From C4 to C generous planning.
This is the yield-based valuations commercial. So you knew the end value when you went into it day one.
Yeah.
There or thereabouts. So you knew what you'd get out to be able to offer the investors their return.
Yeah, exactly that.
Yeah. On top of which then you had to put through, which must be new, a team of builders.
Yeah. For me, cheat code, I want to work with a team. I kind of looked at my corporate days at Jaguar Land Rover and how we operated. So I'm a project manager, we've got senior project managers. We have a team of engineers, they've got like sub-managers as well who manage these teams. And really and truly, if you can hire the best people, more time they're coming up with solutions to fix problems. So when coming to hiring a build team, I didn't want to look for individual trades because I saw how messy it can get from trying to plaster an electrician, a gas engineer. So I wanted to find someone who had all of this in-house, or at least was managing this all in-house. And I am speaking to one person only. I don't speak to 5 people about what's happening with this. When you come in and trying to line them up with this person. So
might have paid a little bit extra because you're paying for a property manager, really.
Yeah, in essence.
But you get that back in speed and time and
deal flow, raise capital.
Yeah.
So for me, it was like there's a cost of doing business. So it's part of the numbers. Yeah, I'm paying a bit more than I would if I was to try and manage it, source the material myself. I'm like, what's the gain to save 10, 15 grand on a build?
But do you save because your time's then used up? the speed at which it's returned would then cost you more money.
Exactly.
So if you juggle it up and work out the figures, it probably didn't cost you more.
I always say, look, people forget time, the element of time, what time costs. People kind of just factor in or just do it, and they forget what's your actual time value.
Well, one of the biggest things on the journey that you use and most investors use, if you do the short-term finance and then term it out, the quicker you get off the short term, the more money you make, because you're not making the monthly return on it. So
100%.
In that way, you would save money if you one guy, one carpenter, one builder, one electrician, you got to put it all together. Whereas that's just one thing in out.
And people were surprised, like, how do I kind of exit my products quite quickly? Like I said, quickly. On average, a HMO development takes about 3 to 4 months. And generally speaking, that's kind of what I'm averaging. So I'm only in a bridge for 4 months max, maybe through the back end of us marketing it out, maybe five months tops, all in. So kind of doing well on that end.
And one of the things which I come across, particularly on new investors, is they're scared of the term bridge.
Cost of doing business. Cost of it is for me, property is a numbers game. Like, you just have to understand the financing behind it. What's your risk? Obviously, things get delayed. I understand that. I appreciate things do get delayed. I'm fortunate I've got a team that are on the ball trying to get in and get out of projects to quality as well, not just about rushing things. Very big on, we won't even do certain things or do patch-up jobs. I'd rather not take the contract. Find me another project where you want to literally do it properly, got out, start again. So it's a cost of doing business. So I think if you look at the financing cost, it can look very insane in terms of what you're paying.
I think with the market as it's changed, bridging will be the only type of finance for the day one. Whereas, because the buy-to-let leverage will be a lot lower than people that were using that route for the wrong purpose. They won't get 75%. They won't get 85%. If you're doing a buy-to-let, you're going to be down around 60%. So you're putting in more day one anyway.
Okay.
And tying in with the redemption charges and stuff like that.
It won't be worth it.
So it will be, I think it will be the norm. Which is good, because it's the correct way of doing it.
I just hope, obviously, in the back end, because I think the biggest, I guess, hindrance of people wanting to use bridge is the interest rates obviously builds up over time, and it can impact the end valuation and like.
But this is what the likes of yourselves, if you do what you say you're going to do in the time you're going to do it, it's okay. It's okay. It's true. And it's the ones that, for instance, buy and the planning's not through, and the building team aren't ready and stuff like that.
No,
it's all about timings it from experience.
And I guess experience comes into play with trying to line it up. So, for example, like I try and get the planning ahead of me.
You're going to touch on that next, because planning could take 4 to 6 months. But do you do it with options?
So it's kind of structure like an incentive. So, look, I want to buy a property. I would normally offer this price if I don't get it without planning. So if you wanted to buy it right now, this is my price. And if you want to wait for me to get planning, this is the incentive, maybe a 5-10 grand extra to wait the 3-4 months to go through planning. And kind of a guaranteed, I guess, positioning yourself as a credible buyer, which in my case, I guess the experience is there, the relationship with the agents. So it's actually an easy sell. But obviously when the market got a bit hot, it was very challenging to kind of structure those deals now, because people pay me over the odds either way, regardless of having to wait for planning gain. So it did.
Well, I think you get the opposite now, aren't you?
So now things obviously now things are better now again. So back to old strategy.
And talking about going forward, with interest rates changing, the way they are, does it affect your model or business plan going forward for the next sort of 2-3 years?
Obviously in terms of cash flow position, it's dropped. So obviously, I was previously paying about 5% on the commercial mortgages a year on the money borrowed, and now it's like 6.7%, 7%, so an extra 2%. Which, where I've got to, it doesn't really make a difference from the portfolio angle. I think for starting out, it might be a hindrance. You wanted to make $1,500 per HMO transaction, but now you might only make £1,000 because you're having to pay extra in interest.
Does this have an effect, or what's your intentions? Rent-wise, will the rents go up?
You're surprised if people won't believe this. So obviously there's the whole VOA stuff around HMO. So this is valuations of HMO units being charged each unit being charged individually for tax, so council tax purposes. So one of my properties, out of nowhere, got an email, believe converted property to HMO. We now want to individually band rooms. So we're actually still going through an appeal with them. But we tested something with them with the marketing, my agency, and said let's try and push the council tax bill to the tenants. So people are actually paying. Very surprisingly, freakishly, I'm like, how would you not go for the property that hasn't got HMO, a council tax bill attached to it? People are paying. So rents have increased significantly. So just put in context, a studio flat that I would normally kind of rent out at 650, people pay 800 for, including council tax. So like, and this is in the last 6 months to 12 months max.
But I think looking at it as on a whole, and people are expecting things to go up.
Yeah.
Electricity, cost of living,
everything.
So it's not a surprise when you tell them.
They understand. They appreciate it. I'm kind of surprised. They're very receptive to it. They're not challenging.
So will you now write that into your contract?
Yeah, we're doing it. I said, listen, Manny, all the new renewals. Try it. Just put it out there and say, look, here's the room rent, additional £50 to £100 towards the council tax bill.
And will you also put in there, if the property is charged council tax, you've got to pay it?
Yeah, so we're just going for it either way.
Yeah.
So we're just saying, regardless of whether it's been banned on individual, I'm an opportunist in a way, I guess.
Yeah.
Because at any given moment, I can get hit with this bill. So like, I want to protect myself. I don't need to write, if it changes or there's clauses and stuff, you're paying council tax today. If it changes, there's no effect to you. Just business as usual for you. So you don't even notice anything changing. So yeah, we're just going for rent plus council tax on rooms that we're renewing contracts.
And you mentioned there about your agents doing that.
Yeah.
So, do you get contacted by agents now through knowing you
obviously,
about offering you properties?
Obviously, of course, I get all types of messaging, marketing, whether it's from managing my properties to selling me properties to investors coming my way, just approaching me through my brand. Seeing what I've done for others and wanting to work with me. So like, I think building a brand has enabled me to kind of get more opportunities easily, I would say, or easier. So it's definitely played in my favor for sure. I'm fortunate. I can even, what people might pay on average for their lettings and stuff, I'm not paying anywhere near that because I'm leveraging one, the portfolio I have, and two, my network in terms of bringing them new business. So it's kind of fair exchange value. Like I can manage my costs and bring them new business. Well,
it certainly sounds an exciting journey, and from where you've been in a short period of time, and everyone's more or less aware of you now. So thank you for your time today, and we'll catch up soon.
Pleasure being here.
Thanks for that, and please watch out on our media for the what's coming up. So make sure you check all our media posts and like, share, and subscribe going forward.